I will go onto the page as well. I'll share it out.
Thank you very much. And a very good evening, everybody. And welcome to a Lyceum night coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church. And we're down on the south coast of the UK. Very warm welcome to our guest tonight. He has been here in person a few times with us at Paul. Always have a really good relationship. One of the, I nearly said something and that somebody might take offense at, but you get people in your life and they're just easy. You're easy, Craig. You're easy, love.
Not the first time I've heard that.
But you are, you just come in and get on with it. You're no fuff or whatever. And what you bring. This is what I always say to our visiting demonstrators here. It's what you're bringing to the church, be it in the philosophy, the teaching, the demming, or whatever, and you never fail to not hit that mark and go, yeah, box tick, thank you, done your job, great, and done it really well. So Craig Morris, anyway, the world's longest introduction there. Good evening, Mr. Morris. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be with you. So yeah, thank you for the invitation to join you tonight. So yeah, all good. How are you doing? You keeping well?
Yeah. We are. We've had a quietish January, February. My passion is on the teaching side. And fortunately, I didn't have a lot booked in for teaching in January and February, which is just as well because the uptick was fairly low.
Yep.
This month we're kicking off and we're starting the party working really hard with Paul Jacobs. And the interest and the bookings are going really well for that. So it's a nice lift for the year. It's sort of like, yeah, come on, we're back in that groove again. And I just love it. I love the range of people that we have coming down here to work, the demonstrators, and just that individuality that we have in our mediumship. It's just great to watch.
I think certainly from the perspective of visiting Poole, excuse me, and I'm speaking from the visiting mediums side really. It's for certainly from my perspective, it's nice because you say that just turn up, we do the job, and then we go again, and it's nice. And I think one thing that you do well at Poole with is a variety of different subjects. Obviously inclusive of what we do, but and it's nice that you have different people. You've just mentioned Paul Jacobs there. Again, Paul's a wonderful medium and a great tutor. And I think the other thing is as well, and it's something that is often spoken about in churches, and I've said in many churches before now, why don't you try bringing different people, different faces, because and I don't just mean dems. I mean, again, the weekend, you're offering a demonstration as well as a workshop, etc., and sittings, because, there are lots of people that perhaps don't have the ability to get about, to say the open weekend or the open week at the college, etc. So it's nice that you're able to bring them to your church so people can get to see them. So I think it's brilliant. I think it's great. So it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Now the Mutual Appreciation Society is finished and drawn to a close. Yeah, you've similar to us. You started off fairly quiet this year, but you're just on the cusp again of, going around touring. People look at that, and I know I've heard people saying, "Oh, that must be wonderful." I had a similar job, not touring for myself, but I was a relief manager with a pub company.
Yeah.
So I was always on the move, always living out of a suitcase, and wonderful job. No, I miss my home comforts. I miss the people at home. But yeah, you really do get out there, and not only the UK now, but internationally as well, which is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. I've said it from day one. Really, I'm very, very fortunate. I'm very lucky that I get to go to all these wonderful places because, of course, when I'm working, I've been surrounded by inspirational people for well, since day one, really, of my mediumship journey, and many of them have guided me along the pathway. We recommend this or we advise this, and there's been always been that inspiration and more so encouragement as well. So, and I've been lucky that excuse me, I've been lucky that I've been given the introductions overseas as well, and as a friend has said to me before, we can open the doors, but you've got to put the graft and work in. So it's just like anything. Um, yeah. So kickstarting off this year, my one of my first trips, surprisingly, was to Sweden. A very, very, very cold Sweden, but just stunning. And but most of January, generally, I'm at home doing private readings. I was teaching, so it was nice. February was pretty much out on the road, and then March is, I say, busy. It's busy with a few dems and some workshops and private readings, and then April, Switzerland. It looks like I'm not really doing a lot the next couple of months, but I said last year, and I said this, we had this conversation when I visited you last time, that even though I'm still going to be out there, I wanted more time at home this year because I missed out on a lot last year, to be honest. And as much as I love my work, we were saying before we came on, as much as we love what we do, we've got a passion for it. We've also got to have that balance of time at home, and like you just said, home comforts. So yeah, I get it absolutely.
Yeah, and that is such a key word, the balance word. And when people contact us for a chat or ask a question, and so many times you can track it back through the energies to you're not in balance.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I am seeing it with some individuals that they're out working like 3 or 4 times a week,
Yeah,
every week, and I just think, do you know what? If this came up in a conversation, somebody was doing this and said, "But I only feel good when I'm on the platform," and I went, "Oh, stop!
yeah,
That really? How have you missed that?"
absolutely.
If you only feel good when you're stood in the platform or doing whatever,
Mhm.
then you know what? That's the universe saying to you, get a grip. Really?
I think, don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, you've got to enjoy what you do. And me and Billy were talking about this afternoon, and we were saying that, lots of mediums, and I'm one of them. I've turned around and said, for me, this is a way of life. And Billy was like, no, it's part of your life
Yeah.
because it's part of who you are, and it's part of what you do. And even he was saying today, he said, but there's aspects of, there's other aspects of my life that I enjoy doing. I like sitting there watching Corrie or whatever it might be, and I enjoy doing this. I enjoy going out and doing all sorts, And I think for a lot of people, you have to, as mediums anyway, you have to remember that that time at home is important, and again, I'll quote a wonderful medium in Stafford, Linda Bennett, and one thing she said to me years ago was, Craig, don't be afraid to say no to people. As much as you might want to, and and I feel like I'm sort of mirroring what I said earlier on, but um, some of the people that are watching, going back to the 80s and 90s, you'll remember Baywatch, and I've quoted this before now, that in one of the episodes, one of the lifeguards was oh, what's the word I'm after? They were, I say kidnapped, but there was another word. There's another word, but yeah, kidnapped, I suppose.
Abducted.
Yeah, basically. And anyway, the guy who sort of kidnapped and took her turned around and said to the lifeguard, "Well, here's a question and here's a scenario, but who guards the lifeguard's life when the lifeguard's life needs guarding?"
Mm.
And I sat, and it was only a couple of years ago that came back to me, and I thought, that's actually quite accurate. But looking at it from our perspective as mediums, as healers, because for us to be able to help people, for us to be able to be there for everybody, we've got to look after ourselves. And that's where it goes back to that word of balance.
Yeah, very
Uh,
true.
yeah.
And also interestingly, we have our home life and we have our spiritual life and whatever, and we try hard to keep those in balance. But, and you're just proof of the pudding there, you heard a phrase on a TV program and you applied a spiritual perspective, because it is about, it's not only walking the walk, it's talking the talk as well, isn't it? It's where I see again, and especially with people just starting to investigate, I always say, don't be the 90-minute spiritualist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't walk in a church, go, oh, hello, love and light, la la la, healing, 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 and then walk out the door, go, right, who's next?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's got to be, again, for as long as I've been, and I'm somebody that will openly say, I've talked about this, I've written about this, where I have been somebody that has burnt the candle at both ends. And you might love what you do, and that's okay. You can love what you do, but remember that burning the candle at both ends is never going to be a good thing. It's never going to end well. And you'll feel that, and eventually what happens is you end up being on autopilot with your work. And of course, when you're giving somebody a reading, or if you're teaching, whatever it may be, a service in a spiritualist church, you want to be able to give everything that you've got. And going back to what you were saying there, seeing some mediums going out 3 or 4 nights a week, every single week, I get it to begin with in the early days, to get that exposure, to get out there. But at the same time, you've got to be mindful, especially if you're somebody as well that is perhaps still doing a full-time job, or if you've got a family. There's so many different elements to look at, and I'm lucky I haven't got any of them. But it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, the balance thing has been reflected. Lovely Sherry Ann from France.
Hello.
You need to live life in balance. Just say hello to a couple of people. Lovely Joan out in Philadelphia. How are I've been bombarding Joan with anti-Italian posts.
Oh.
His posts like a pizza with pineapple on, which apparently the Italians frown upon.
Oh, I think it's fabulous. I love pineapple on a pizza.
Oh, don't say that. You'll start her off.
Sorry, Joan. Yes, I do. I do quite like it.
She's great. She's great. Lovely Jack over in Denmark. Hello. There you go. See, you started it now. This is not the Italian way. I found a video clip of a guy in a restaurant in Italy getting spaghetti and cutting it with scissors to eat it.
Yeah.
The guy in the restaurant just threw him out. Get out of my restaurant. A little remark here from Lorraine. I think I need to find balance. Well, do you know what, Lorraine? The first thing on finding balance is knowing that you need to find it.
Yeah.
Seriously. So you're on the right track.
And it's then just knowing where to look and to go sort of within and finding it, I suppose. And one thing I will say is, from my own perspective, my own experience, and I'm sure you'll get this, Laurie, that it's not something that happens overnight either. It's not something that is going to happen, even over a period of, because it takes it becomes, so for example, like last year, I said in this year's diary, I would have every long weekend off that Wayne would be having. Anyway, somewhere along the line, we've messed it up, or I've messed it up, and all of a sudden it now seems that some weekends that I'm going to be at home, Wayne's going to be working. So I'm now thinking, I can just, I'll if somebody wants to book me, then I'll do it. And I've had to say no, I'm stopping myself, because I'm already working enough, over weekends where I'm having, because, and that's where I'm going with this. Is my point is that even though I wanted to have the weekends at home with Wayne, sometimes it's actually nice just to have a weekend at home. And even though Wayne will be in and out, he'll be working, it's nice just to have that time at home and just do nothing. Get up, go to the gym, get back, and sit on the telly, sit on the sofa and watch telly for the rest of the day,
Yeah.
or read a book. So having that actually is nice, and I think the one of the first things, and I go back to what Linda Bennett said to me: say no, don't be afraid. So now I'm saying no to people for this year that are still trying to book me. I'm saying it's now 2025, and do you know what? It's so hard. It's so hard to say no to people because you don't want to let people down. So that's why I say to you, Lorraine, just wherever that point is, and as Laurie has made a very, very good point there, acknowledging it is your first biggest step. So good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And the balance. Oh, hold on. We're still having pineapple gate. So Jane is adamant there's no pineapple.
Oh, bless.
Apparently, I'm bad. That bad as in rotten pineapple? I don't know. But anyway. Lovely. Ruth from Holland. Good evening, sir. So nice of you to join us. Sam, getting back to the balance. Finding balance or the middle way is always the hardest thing to find.
It is. It is. And, it's nice to see you, Sam, by the way. Thank you for jumping on. I haven't seen you for a little while, so I hope you both are keeping well. I think, do you know what? In all honesty, I think it's something that I say it's difficult. It's not difficult. It is quite easy. And like you, there are many mediums that both you and I know that are just on the go. And he won't mind me mentioning his name, but Steve Holbrook, years ago, and he'll openly say this well, but years ago, he used to do 26 nights a month, 9 months of the year. So I'll let you total up how many dems that is. So he might have had sort of 3 months off throughout the year, but it's then trying to get it in that balance because everybody's circumstances are different. So I might talk about how I'm gaining balance, but then how you get your balance and gain your balance will be very different because your parameters of life are very different to mine. Because of, you've got a church to run, for example, but you're still out there doing, serving churches, you're doing specials. And I see you're traveling abroad as well. You're off to Holland, isn't it?
Yes.
Fabulous. Yeah. When you go? I saw the post the other day, but I didn't see the date.
First weekend of April.
Wicked. Which part are you going to?
Hengelo, which is right up on the German border.
Fabulous. I just think, why not? Enjoy it.
You say why not and fabulous. Do you know what? Last week on Wednesday, I had a complete meltdown.
Really?
I had the classic imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I can't go to another country and teach people. Do you know what? Upstairs, it was incredible. I was going through this and it really was a serious sort of like, what am I doing? Oh. And I had 4 mediums who I love and really respect just contact me just off the cuff that morning. And I went, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one came through and just said a few things. And I went, you know what? And I quickly switched it from fearing it to going, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And the minute I switched that energy, actually, this is not bad because this is a balance thing again. I've gone too far into the imposter syndrome. I've only taught in the UK. I can't go abroad and think blah, 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 blah. But when I switched it and went, this is going to be great and I'm going to enjoy this, it was sort of like, wait, it's all gone. Thank goodness for that.
I think, the other thing as well is that part of what we do, well, a massive part of what we do as mediums is trust. It comes to trust with the spirit world. And at the end of the day, if you weren't ready for that, just like if I weren't ready for this or other mediums, we've seen Jack, who's in here as well, who's worked over this in this country as well. If he wasn't ready, and other mediums that we know, if none of us were ready, then surely the spirit world wouldn't put that opportunity in front of us.
And that was exactly what somebody said to me.
There you go. And it's not just that trust, and as Sam's just put there, the faith when we're on the platform doing a demonstration, but it's the trust and the faith in a part of the journey as well of what we're doing. So it's again, it's sort of feels like it's all going back to that one word that we started with tonight. So I really I came on tonight and I said, "Oh, so what's the theme?" Well, I
What's the
think we've
theme?
got it in the first 30 seconds. So, so yeah. Oh, are you sleeping in a shed?
Well, apparently so.
Just give him a
So,
hot water bottle and a glass of and a bottle of whiskey. You'll be
so
fine.
everybody in Holland keeps telling me, but thank you, Ruth. I'm looking forward to that.
Brilliant.
I look
Enjoy it.
forward to
Enjoy
seeing you on the course and marking your exam paper.
it. Oh, blimey. Make it a big bottle of whiskey and you'll be fine. I love it. I love it.
Touching
Love it.
back, lovely Sammy brings up something. Recently, before I have said yes, I have said, let me see what else is going on. And if I'm able to, I will say, yeah, really good point.
100%. And again, like yourself, there'll be people that'll be sort of contacting you saying, Laurie, can you step in? Can you do this? Or, can we book you for that? Unfortunately, I'm already booked, or I've already got this, I've already got that. And it's great when you can say that, but at the same time, you do still feel bad for saying no to people. But and also if you in your, I've got it now in my diary. I've actually written off, and day off or weekend off, whatever it might be. And if I'm off, I'm sticking to it. I'm genuinely sticking to it, and it's just the way that it is. So you've got to be able to say no to people, and as selfish as that may sound, if I have to say no to somebody, whether it's a service, a dem, or whatever it may be, I'll always try and point them in the right direction of somebody else, of another medium, that can do that, maybe. So yeah.
Yeah, something happened just a couple of months ago. I went out with some friends, and we were going to go to one church to watch a demonstration there. And for whatever reason, we ended up at another church and watching the demonstration there. And the medium who was demming that night, she lives very close to me, whereas my friends come from about 25, 30 mile away. So I was handed around like an Amazon parcel. I arrived with one people and got chucked in another car to go home. I thought, well, this is nice. But it really struck me on that drive home how lonesome sometimes our journey is, because we're going to do a service, all right? So we're preparing hours beforehand, the awareness is shifting, the energy is starting to buzz and things. We do the journey, and we're going there with the anticipation. We turn up, we get the greeting, and get in and do the dem and everything. And then it's just like we dropped to get home. And I had never, I've done it myself, but I'd never really sort of like acknowledged it, because I was talking to this lady and going, my God, this is the lonely part, isn't it? This is it's all done. And I've got 50 minutes to drive home or something like that. And don't know how, I mean, you're driving up the other end of the country. And a lot of people don't see that side, when they're saying about, well, you should be going in to do a service. Yeah, the service is like an hour and a half, but we've got an hour and a half before and an hour and a half after. So suddenly we're now into 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
But that part after the service, it just, because I was like the observer, I just thought, wow, I've never really noticed how impactful that can be.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, if anybody, there's been times where I have, I've done a demonstration and I've driven 3 or 4 hours home. I remember once, just because of the way the schedule went, and I think we were just coming out the lockdown as well, because otherwise I wouldn't normally do this at all. But we were just going out the lockdown, and I'd been booked for Colin and Annette Bland's place in Southampton. And I got the phone call from them saying, "Listen, we know that you were booked in and everything, but if because you haven't got anything on either side, if you want to postpone it, change it, and we'll give you another date, it's not a problem." I said, "Do you know what? No, I'm coming down." And they said, "Well, you're very well," and they've always said it. Welcome to stay there. I said, "No, I'll just come down and I'll drive home." So I drove from Yorkshire down to Southampton. I went to theirs. We had an hour. We had a catch up, coffee and everything. got changed, went and did the demonstration for an hour and a half, and then I got back in the car and I drove all the way back home from Southampton back to Yorkshire. And I did it, forget the monetary value, forget that. I did it because obviously at the time the circumstances were we'd been locked up for almost 2 years. We hadn't had that actual interaction with people that much either, and I really just wanted to get back out there. But I wouldn't do that now, and I wouldn't normally have done that. But the time when I'm in the car on my own, and it's that come down. It's as lots of mediums describe it as like and Tim Abbott said it to me years ago. It's like a drug. Once you're there, you want more of, and he's right. But that drive. Anybody who knows me, when I'm in the car, I actually quite like it. When I'm on my own after a demo, and I'm on the way home, especially if I've been away for the weekend and whatnot. I've got myself a coffee. I've got some snacks. The music is on, and I'm not just singing. I am performing. I do my own little one man concerts in the car, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. So, but it can be lonely, and not even just that. Again, this is where it's different. When we come to visit you at Paul, it's different because, of course, we're at the church, and we've got company, and it's great. We go off for a wonder. What's that place that we went? Not the last time I was down, the time before in the summertime, and we've gone for a walk along the.
Down the quay.
That's it, yeah. So now normally that wouldn't happen because if I'm stuck in a Premier Inn somewhere else in the middle of the country, I don't know anybody, so it's usually just TV and a cup of tea. But so the whole part of it can be lonely, and like you say, that the only time that it isn't lonely is when you're on the platform for an hour and a half doing the demonstration.
Yeah. When people say, "Oh, I'd love to be a medium," you go, "Oh, right, okay." So you want to give up every Sunday for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
You want to be trolleying around on buses, trains, cars, and God knows what for hours on end, and all the frustrations and the angst.
Yeah.
Because you've got a delay, and you should have been there 5 minutes ago. Really?
Yeah.
Really want to go for it?
The thing is as well. We can always talk about when sort of this happened and that happened, but I think it takes. I don't know. Anybody can be aware of the spirit world; they really can be. But I don't think anybody could be a medium. I think it takes just like it takes somebody to be, to be a pilot, or it takes somebody to be a doctor. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but can you hold yourself and are you born to do that? That's the thing. What were you actually born to do? And I think being a medium it's one of the greatest privileges. But I mean this politely, and I mean this politely to them upstairs as well. But sometimes it can feel like a curse as well. And I mean that, I do genuinely mean that politely, but it's as though sometimes, and again, I mean it respectfully, but it's almost as though sometimes people think that you've got all the answers. And as soon as they see you, it's like, oh, Laurie, I'm all right now, I'm okay. Because you're in their company. And it's great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. But then all of a sudden, it's almost that sort of sense of pressure. Of like, hang on a second, how can I help you? What is it that I'm meant to do? And it's part of the journey. I feel like I'm going proper sort of deep with this, but it's part and parcel of who we are and what we do. There's so much more to it.
It is. People do think that you're special, and something I've been working with for the last few months is our evidential mediumship is just a faculty.
Yeah,
it's the same as learning how to drive a car or do wiring or anything. It's just a faculty. It doesn't make us spiritual people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people go, "Oh, or you're a medium, so you've got all the answers. You're plugged in. Give us a message quick," and all this, and it's like, no, because the more invested and involved we get with the spirit world, when these situations come up, you're just like, how do I explain this? This is not a trick show. It's not an act that you can just turn on. It's a deeply personal part of us.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and it's not there for after dinner revelry or anything like that.
Yeah.
And if we had all the answers, I'd be sitting in a very lavish setup now with my hi-fi surround system on the go, you know, my built-in cinema and the car waiting for me outside. We ain't got the trouble is when we go through those times, you know, when everything suddenly seems to be crashing around, we're busy looking for the meaning of it.
Yeah, we are. There's always like a lesson in whatever it might be that happens, and you know, sometimes, you know, you sometimes wonder why things happen. You wonder why, you know, you're put in that place or you're put in that position. And I remember, and this only happened recently. This did. A friend of ours, Darren, he works with Wayne, and they only lived like 10 minutes from where we are. And it was about a week before. Probably going back about 3 weeks or so now, something like this. And I've been round at his on the Sunday afternoon. We had a couple of beers and etc. Wayne come and pick me up. But whilst I was there, he said, "Oh, there's a medium on at the local pub place," and he said, "Do you fancy going?" I said, "You know what? Yeah, all right then." I wouldn't normally, to be honest. If I've got a night off, I'm like, you know what? No, I'll enjoy time at home. But I said, "Yeah, okay, we'll go." Anyway, and I was like, "Oh, do I fancy that?" And then he called me, he said, "Right, it's sold out." I said, "Don't worry about it, it's fine." Then a post went up on social media to say we've had 4 tickets become available last minute. And apparently within 4 minutes they'd sold because he called them up and said, "Can we have two of them?" She said, "Oh, we've sold them. However, you're very welcome. Excuse me, you're very welcome to come along because we can squeeze 2 more seats in, no problem." So we rocked up. Now I drove, and on the way there, I don't know what made me do it. I don't know what made me do it. Well, I do know when I tell you what happened. But on the way there, every time I do a demonstration, wherever I'm going to, I always stop and I always send up a thought and a prayer and my intentions to the spirit world. And my intentions that night were, you know what? I hope tonight's a good laugh. I hope people get everything that they need, and you know what? If I get a message, it's icing on top of the cake for me. But just to be there in the company would be fabulous. And I hope the medium. I hope he has a great night. Anyway, we got there and we were told 7 o'clock start, but then we were told it could be half past, no problem. So we just sat there chatting away, and then it was getting on, and we were like 7:45 here, but there was no sign of the medium. So one of the bar staff was sat with her family in the room, and she was walking past us, and somebody said to her, "What's going on? It's quarter," and you could feel the tension in the room. But the strange thing was, as soon as we sat down at say just after 7, I was sat with that, and also I started becoming aware of people, and I thought, oh, do you know what? It's just because we're in the room and the spirit would are getting excited, normal. And then the bar like they went downstairs, said we've tried calling him several times, there was no answer. So Darren said, "Do you fancy it?" I went, "No, I don't. It's a night off. I've paid for the ticket, this, and this, and now I'm quite thinking." Anyway, I sat there and I thought to myself, I thought, hang on, this was almost like bringing me back down to earth in a way, because it was one of those moments where I thought, I'm in my mind, and I put a post up yesterday on social media, and I don't care what anybody says, spiritual or non-spiritual, when you see somebody as a human being, within a few minutes, you've made a judgment call already. You've made a judgment call. You may not voice it, you may not actually act upon it, but you've made a judgment call in your mind. and and I sat there, and my first judgment call was these are drunk people, you know, and they're a bit loud and all that sort of stuff. And that's something. It was almost as though somebody was just sort of saying, "Go, go." I thought, right, okay, because and my thought was, you just don't know who's in that room that actually needs it. So I went downstairs, said to the manager, "Listen, this is who I am. There's my details. Blah 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 blah." I said, um, if you think I'm having you on, just Google or there's my website, whatever. And she goes, "Are you offering to basically get us out of the poo?" I went, "Yes, I am." So she goes, "Right." I said, "But you need to go up and tell people because they may have come along to see this medium specifically." And anyway, so I went upstairs, introduced myself, and we got on with it. And you know what? The first sort of 10-15 minutes, I thought this is going to be hard work. After that, do you know what? We had a laugh, we had a giggle, and there were a couple of messages from the night that I remember, and one in particular that had literally just lost only within a couple of months of that night had just lost their mother, and the son was there, the daughter-in-law was there, etc., and the granddaughter was there. And Darren, who I was with, his partner then turned up, and it turned out that it was Jono, who is Darren's partner. It turned out that Jono was the nurse who cared for the lady that came through that only died 2 months prior.
Oh my God.
So I was like, but the point of it is that sometimes the spirit world will throw. I feel like I'm going on here, but the spirit will just throw you into a situation. And you know what? That night it was just like, yeah, these are real people. These are people that actually need that, whether it's upliftment, that love, encouragement. But you know what? It happened, and I loved it. I loved it. It was fabulous. So it happens.
Brilliant. And you just touched on something there again. You had that other little bit of closure as well, because again, anybody out there thinking, "Oh, it must be wonderful to be a medium," we don't get the closure on it. We give our evidence, but we haven't got the whole story to it. We haven't got the fill-in details. I was working last night online in Ireland, and I delivered the evidence and the message, and it was very emotive. There were a few, right, how do I put this and whatever. But the lady stayed on to the end, and she went, "Well, do you know, because it was like the anniversary, she's been struggling with it. The dog has been going mental from the minute she went online. The dog was going mental. And when I delivered the message, the dog just stopped. And he had this, and and I'm just like, you know what? That's really nice to hear because what you deem it as a competent message, but when you get more of the backstory, you just think, wow,
yeah,
wow.
Absolutely. Pat Tweed, good evening. I haven't seen Pat. Oh, I saw Pat a little while ago. At Spirit Quest, Spirit Quest.
All right. Maria Hines, same thing happened to me. Yeah, I did it to a medium here a few years ago when we used to have the Wednesday afternoon services, and this chap came in, introduced himself, just moved to the area. I am a working medium. Gave me the card. He said, "Do you have a look at your website?" And I went, "Oh, thank you." And he sat down in the congregation and got to 3 o'clock. Still no sign of the medium. So I'm like, right, I've got to make a judgment call here. So as I was walking down the aisle, I walked past him. I said, I said I was going to talk to you about your mediumship. He said, yeah. And I said, well, come on, get up on the platform. Here's your interview.
Right, mate. I love it. I love it.
He did it. He did a cracking job as well. Yeah. I said, oh, you got the job, mate.
Yeah. Well, but again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier on, that, it's the trust thing with this. It's that link, not only the link, but having the trust and the faith with the spirit world, that, you're going there with the intention of, I'm just coming along, supporting the church, introducing myself, and just going to enjoy the service and just relax. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, you'll do, come on. And you're like, huh? And it just being, sometimes it being just off exactly what Pat's just put there, off the cuff. And when it's off the cuff, it takes away the thinking. So then all of a sudden you've then got something else to talk about, because when you take away the thinking process, which is the human side to us, not the medium side to us, it's the human side to us. When you take away the thinking process, you take away any sort of time to sort of go further into the thought of, can I do this? Can't I do this? What's going to happen? What if I do this? It takes away all of that, and you just have no choice but to get on with it.
Yeah. Comment here from Rud. I like that comment. The great thing is you continue to be amazed. How do you feel about that? Because it never stops amazing me.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think even though we get to see, we get to see and we get to sit with people, and it's life, it happens. People don't only lose grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, they lose brothers, sisters, cousins, they lose children, they lose grandchildren, and sadly it shouldn't happen. I was going to swear then. It shouldn't happen, but it sadly does. From one reason to another, it does. And when you've got a parent sat in front of you, or you've got somebody sat in front of you, and you've just given them something, which to us as mediums, it's there. It's just part of the message. It's part of what we're delivering. We
Yeah.
don't think about it. We give it. This is what you've come for. The spirit world are giving us. That we're giving what what we're given. But we don't always understand, if ever really, we don't always get what the significance is with it. We don't always understand the meaning behind it. And sometimes it can be just the most simplest of things. And again, Laurie, I'm sure you've got lots of stories, where it's just, you've given somebody a private reading and you might have given them, a grandmother. You've given them her name, how it was that she passed, birthdays, anniversaries, who she's with in the spirit world,
Mhm.
the name of the road that she lived on, what she did for a living, all these things. But one thing, whether it be a little saying or whatever it might be, is that turning point for that person that sits in front of you. And it makes it exciting because you think, flipping heck, where did that come from? And what continues to amaze me is how with the intelligence of the spirit world, and how it is that they use our own, because we've all got different experiences in life, but it's how they use our own experiences to then should we say elevate, not enhance
Yeah.
the evidence, and it's it's brilliant. And I remember one, God, we're going back a few years now, but about over 10 years ago. I was in Tamworth doing a group night for a lady and her family. Last message, grandmother came through, talking to the granddaughter, gave everything. And I said to her, I said, listen, I said, I don't normally give one-worded statements, but your grandmother, I said, your nan's give it to me 3 times now. I said, all she keeps saying is the word jam. That's all she says, the word jam. I don't get a feeling from it. I don't get any emotion from it. I don't get nothing from it, just the word. She goes, I'll explain at the end. Okay, no problem. And anyway, so she took me into the kitchen. She goes, right, come with me. She opened the cupboard. She goes, look at that. And it was a jar of jam. She goes, that was the last jar of jam that I actually made with my nan. She goes, I've never opened it since. I went, doesn't feel right. No, I said, doesn't feel like it's that. She goes, it's not. She goes, this afternoon, before you got here, she said, I sent up the thoughts to my nan. I said, if you really are coming through and you really are talking to Craig tonight, all I want you to ask him to do and say is the word jam. And I'll believe everything else. That's what amazes me with the spirit world. That's what amazes me, because I don't think, okay, we as mediums, you and I and other people that are in, Marie, Pat, Sam, we have, and Jack, we have the ability of the communication with the spirit world, but it's the spirit world that are giving the gift to their loved ones.
Yeah.
It's not us. It's not us. We're. I don't think I'm that special. It's just the ability, but it's the spirit world that are the special. They're the ones that are giving that gift to their loved ones, and that's what amazes me, to be honest. So I love that what he's put there.
So we're like the Amazon drivers for the spirit world.
Yeah, well, I like that. I do actually like that, because it's yeah. I suppose really we are. And sometimes the only thing I don't like is sometimes the roads that we have to go down are bumpy. But
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah.
and sometimes we hit a pothole, or we might have a scratch and a bump, but yet we become stronger at the end of it. Listen, not everybody's going to like us. It is what it is. We can
Yeah.
only do what we can do. Blimey, some people think I'm egotistical and think that I'm only doing it for this, this, and this. I really couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Like my intentions are that I'm there to help, and not just pass on the messages, but there to help the mediums of tomorrow, in any way that I can, and I do my best, just like you do, and by doing things like this, and it's but as Pat says there, we're privileged to help in both worlds, and she's just put there, and I truly get this, but I believe respect is always needed, 100%.
Definitely. We had an online workshop today, and it was sort of like just going back and checking in about your mediumship. and different ways that we can, when I say analyze, after we've done a service or anything, just to self-critical, not critical in the negative way, but self-assessment type things.
Yeah.
Which is really good, because we can just fall into just keep going out doing services. If we were working, we would have different things in our workplace, your yearly evaluations, where do you see yourself in 3, 5, 10 years and things like that. And actually, it is a good idea to start looking at applying that to ourselves as working mediums.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this? We understand why we're doing it.
Yeah.
But where are we going with it? I did say to somebody, and forgive me, I don't mean to be offensive with this, and it was just getting a little bit terse, the conversation, and just something came out. I said, do you want to be 80 years old, sat on a bus with bingo wings, just going out to do another divine service where the disinterest of the congregation is only outweighed by the ignorance of the committee? And I just thought, oh my God, what have I just said?
Yeah.
And they went, no, I don't. And I said, so now is the time to start putting things in place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something, and this is why I think it's good to have. And I always, whenever I've taught workshops, I always say to the students, go along and don't just watch other meetings, but go along and do other workshops as well, because you're going to learn something. And whatever it may be, you'll learn something. You really will. But that, what you just said there, I think that could hit home to a lot of people, because for some people, and I get it, I really do, I get it. Excuse me, but for a lot of people, this is life to them. People live and breathe the spirit world, and I think sometimes when you're, if you're enjoying life, or you're doing this, or you're having a bit of fun with your mediumship, sometimes it can be looked as though you're, maybe being frowned upon, and it really isn't that intention, but I suppose I look at it from the perspective that at some point, we are going to be the ones that are going to be the communicators from the spirit world.
Yeah.
And I want somebody who's lively. I want somebody who wants to have a laugh and have a giggle. I don't want somebody, giving the evidence can be fabulous. You can give all the best evidence in the world, but put that personality into it as well, And so it goes back to what you've just said there. Do you want to be that 80-year-old person sat on the bus, being ferried around and going to do another divine service? It's got me thinking that, has to be honest. It's got me thinking, because when you, again, exactly what you've just said there, you're working for a company, and I'll use the airline for an example. You might start off as cabin crew, but then you can see, do you want to climb the ladder? Do you want to become a cabin manager? Then do you want to become, part of the recruitment team? Do you want to become then a cabin crew trainer? Then do you want to become a base manager? So you climb the ladders, because of course through life, you want to exceed, you want to excel, you want to grow and evolve, to, I suppose, really to be validated. The hard work that you're putting into that job, whatever it is that you do in life, you're being, I won't say rewarded, but you're being shown that validation of the time, the effort, and the dedication that you've given to that role. So actually, when you look at it from what you just said there, but from the medium's perspective, actually, maybe it's not such a bad thing. The only thing I would ever say to people is just don't ever criticize yourself too much, because there are plenty of people out there that will do it free of charge for you. Let them do that. Just be able to acknowledge it to yourself. Do you know what? Listen to what people say to you as well. Do you know what? Thank you for that, Laurie. I've been waiting for that message for 15 years from my granddad, and you've brought him through for me tonight. So thank you. And then it goes back something to what you were saying at the start of the night, where the overthinking of like, oh, can I do this? Am I going to be good enough for that? Can I do that? But when you get that validation, yeah, you are, because you're just that one person. You've done your job. You've done your job.
And
So,
I feel that we have, as working mediums, we have a duty to look at our progression side. We will, I've always said in the main, platform mediums tend to have a bit of a shelf life in certain areas.
Yeah.
You come out on the market, brand new, everybody wants you. Oh, that new guy is on. Oh, let's go and see them. The second year, oh yeah, they're not bad. The third year, oh yeah, no, I've seen them.
Yeah.
And we do have a bit of a shelf life out there, unless we keep advancing our mediumship.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful kick up the what's it from upstairs. I was working somewhere, and halfway through the message, I said to the sitter, I went, "Have I worked with you before?" And they went, "No." And I went, "This is weird. This is more like I'm giving this message from my own memory rather than how it normally goes." So I sat with my team and I said, why are these messages all starting to feel really familiar to me? And they said, because you're not advancing your mediumship. You've set your bar there. That's what you want. You're getting that all the time. That's why it feels familiar, because you're not raising the bar at all. And I went, oh my God. How interesting.
Yeah, very, very.
Yeah. So, the spirit world are there to support us advancing and trying different things. But also, we then have got to look at the teaching side. You are par excellence with beginners. You really are. You've got a very nice, amiable, approachable way. Unlike me, I'm a bit like a grumpy old bear. Honey or something.
I wouldn't say that.
I can. But you've got that approach. You've got that enthusiasm, the energy, and it passes on to people coming in and starting to explore their pathway, and that's brilliant, because that's the evolution of your mediumship. When you came out of Tim and Jeanette's stables to go on the platform, did you think then that in time you would start teaching?
Oh, blimey! I suppose it was there in the back of my mind somewhere, but I also then thought it's going to be years down the line, because I've not had the experience. I'm just going out on platform, and I think to be able to teach, you've got to have that experience. And and I suppose really it's only the last sort of maybe few years that my teaching has probably sort of started to evolve more, and obviously now going overseas and things, but that's because of experiences that we as mediums have. So I suppose it was never something that I sort of thought about to begin with, because I suppose all I wanted to do was to be up there on the platform or giving private, giving messages to people. But that was a different thought process, I suppose, back in the day, because I just want to give a message. That's all I want to do. I just want to give messages. But as we know, there's so much more to it, especially a divine service. You've got your prayers, you have your philosophy, your address as a medium as well. So and I think as well, with what you just said there about the newer people that are coming through or just starting off, and I think I look at it from the perspective of and you'll know this anyhow, but people that aren't that are maybe new to me, I can only ever teach, or I feel that I'm better teaching with analogies and my own experiences. And I years ago, so of course I've done karate for years, and I used to teach as well. And there was something that one of my old karate instructors, he wrote a column in our magazine, karate magazine, and it was called "Looking Down the Line." And I've read that several times, and in a nutshell, it's about you as a black belt. You're stood at the top of the line because you are the senior grade, of the students. But whatever you do, don't ever look down the line and look down at people thinking you want to be where I am. You want to be wearing this black belt, don't you? What you have to do is look down the line and think, that was me a few years ago. That's where I started.
Yeah.
You know, and it was me looking up, thinking, I'd love to be a black belt. I'd love to do that, and I'd love to do this. And there has to be so looking at it from that perspective, I then bring that into my teaching to the side of, and I say to students, listen, you have to understand, because you would have heard this when students say, oh, I wish I could get up and I could do that, or I wish I could sit there and do this. Well, you will do. One day it will happen. You can't go to the gym and just bench press 200 pounds, a 200 kg. It takes time to build up, and it's just the same with our mediumship. And I always say to students, you need to just one thing to remember is, we have been where you are. We had to start somewhere. We've been at as it was described to me a little while ago. We were at the bottom of the pile at one point, because we've got to grow ourselves. So and I think I've always got that in the back of my mind as well when I'm teaching, because also, and I suppose you'll get this more than what I will, really, because you run a church, so you're the one that has to book mediums in, and you're thinking, oh blimey, what am I going to do? I've got this date and I've got that date. We have to remember that the students that are coming through the doors now are the mediums of the future.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be scaring them off. We don't want to be saying, oh, it should be done like this, or you've got to do that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Let's I suppose I say break them in gently, but just make it that, you know what, yeah, I want more of that. I want more of that. And I think it's from that perspective as well that because at some point you or I aren't going to be around, but somebody else in years to come will be doing what we're doing now, having this same conversation. They'll be saying, oh yeah, I remember years ago when I did that workshop with Laurie, I took this away and I took that away, and they'll still be talking about it years to come, and then they'll put that into their teachings. So yeah.
I always say to my circles, I don't want you to be as good as me. I want you to be better than me.
Yeah.
Don't don't say, if you say I want to be as good as that person, you've just capped where you're going to go. I want you to be better than me. I want you to really go out and smash it. Which brings us very nicely into the workshop that you have down with us here in Poole on the 6th of July with the lovely Siobhan Worthington Lavery, who is a hypnotherapist.
Yes. I have to say, I'm looking forward to this. I am excited for this one. And it was it was last year. We were sat. I was down in Torquay. I was working at Paynton Church and a couple of other places. And we sat down. We met up for a coffee, and we were chatting away. And it was just a light bulb moment. And I thought, this will be interesting. This could be interesting. If we could make it work, but how? So of course, again, like you'll understand, it's like, come on and give me some ideas. Where can we take this? What can we do? and I suppose I've had sessions with Siobhan, and she's it's helped me tremendously. And the stories I hear from her as well, from her own clients as well, is brilliant. So yeah, we decided we were going to put something together, and we've kind of designed it so as it says, just to sort of take people through a variety of exercises, but wanting to, it's having the awareness, not just of the spirit world, but your awareness of yourself as well, of your own energy, of like, okay, before you get to a demonstration, are you that person who's overthinking? Well, what is it that you're overthinking? Why is it? So let's go to the reason why you've got that. So then, and this is one thing that Siobhan's very good at. She'll sit and she'll talk to you first, before she actually goes into a session. And lots of people, she's a hypnotherapist, but we're going to be looking at it as almost like as from the meditation point of view with her. So she'll be taking the students through that, and then I'll be putting in the exercises with them, the students in the spirit world. So, and it's really about to give people taking away the self-doubt and replacing it with self-confidence, not overconfidence, but self-confidence, taking away the fear factor, taking away the overthinking and bringing in that inspiration, bringing in that encouragement that they need. you know, there's there's so much, I say, negativity in the world now, and like I say, people running each other down left, right, and centre. Let's put some positivity back into it, and and that's what we're going to be doing, in a nutshell. So yeah, I can't wait. Cannot wait.
I am so looking forward to that weekend. And again, there is no coincidence. Lovely Angela Foster, who's been working with us online and doing some amazing courses. She's got a neurodiversity course coming up to look at different mindsets on meditation techniques, because we all learn differently. I see, I hear, I read, I taste, I do. So that's come up, and this has also now triggered in me with the training side is investing some time at the beginning of any workshops or whatever to try and help people understand what their mindset is.
Yes.
And to actually, go back to the student rather than saying, okay, everybody, I want you to do this. But actually in exploring a little bit of the mindsets, do you think emotionally, are you a logical person? How do you view your relationship with the spirit? Well, that's a really telling exercise, a great one, that. And just sort of like taking away some of these misnomers that we've had, but also understanding where the students are coming from.
Absolutely. And I think it's, it's all about evolving. Within in what we do, it's all about evolving. And I would say to anybody that is wanting to evolve, I mean, it's just exciting. I mean, what you were talking about there, the different, the meditation thing. For me, it's because it gets you thinking, and it's then, and that's what helps you evolve, and that's what helps you grow within your spirituality, whether you're a medium, whether you're a healer, whatever it may be that you do, or if it's just something for yourself, it's an opportunity. Grasp it. It is what's the worst that you're going to do? You're going to lose a few quid on your thing, but you're going to take something away from it.
Do
you know what I mean? You're going to take something away from it. You might make a new friend on the day as well. Grasp it is what I say. So I'm looking for, and also I'm looking forward to when we're down there, of course, the service as well.
I know.
Oh, right.
It's going to be the cherry on the cake.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Every time you've been down, you've had to go back before the service, but this time you actually take the divine service. I'm like, yes,
I am. Yes. I'm looking forward to that.
But it is fascinating again, and it's just only hit me. Last year, when I was planning workshops and who to invite for this year, I knew I had this energy around of more of personal development and self-development rather than going out to be a medium, to be a healer, but to also make sure that was covered. And it has happened. It has happened again. Our friends upstairs listen. We like that.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love it. And I think, and like I said to Siobhan about this, I said, you know what? I said, I've got the place where I think we could take it to as well. And of course it was to Paul. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Anyway, Craig, thank you so much for the gift of your time tonight, and
my pleasure.
Presence and experience. It's always a joy talking with you. So thank you.
No, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us here tonight. We do appreciate your company. The Lyceum next week will be a pre-recorded one because we have a busy weekend here with Paul Jacobs visiting us at Paul. So, and I'm also booked to do the Arthur Conan Doyle Centre live online for a mediumship dem. So I've got babysitters coming in to look after Paul, so that's lovely. I've invited two lovely mediums over to just keeping company while I have to disappear for an hour and a half. So next week will be pre-recorded, back live the week after, which of course will be the Easter weekend. It's snuck up on us. But in the meantime, Craig, again, thank you so much for your
Pleasure.
time. It really is time you took down that Superman poster. Come on, we've had about 5 other Superman since then.
I know, but he's still the best one. He's still, apart from the TV series, Dean Cain, Christopher Reeve's Superman. In my eyes, anyway. My eyes. So,
That's true. There's like Agatha Christie is Miss Marple is only Rutherford.
Yeah.
And nobody else can do it.
No, absolutely. I agree.
So have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Do you know what? Next week's going to be the best week ever if you say it's going to be. All right. If you say it's going to be the worst week ever, guess what? Your choice.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.